Hey everyone, this is me, TimeLiarG, and welcome to another Dark Souls video. This time it's not a stream of me doing a challenge run or a speed run. I just wanted to take the time to talk about what's my favorite part about video games, and that's the mysteries and oddities, theorizing with other people about the games that have this kind of cryptic feel to them. Dark Souls reminds me of games from the 90s and 2000s where, you don't have a guide in front of you, it doesn't hold your hand or anything. So, we're just going to be talking about Dark Souls mysteries, secrets, oddities, rumors, and trivia, just like I did with my RuneScape video, specifically the RuneScape 2 video. I did talk about RS1 in there a little bit, but it's going to be just like that. So, without further ado, let's begin the video. And I just want to generically say, just like everybody else, if you enjoy the video, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and I would very much appreciate that. And I do actually mean that. I would appreciate that. Pine resin isn't used that often outside of the Gaping Dragon or that one tumble buff oversight. You have three kinds of resin in Dark Souls. You have the gold, charcoal, and rotten, but there's an oddity that makes it seem like there's a fourth kind as well. Outside of the 3 gold resin you find near the start of the game in Undeadbury, there's a limited amount sold by shops. Aside from that, you'll have to go farm Elizabeth's future relatives or try to find a vagrant if you want the resin of the gold variety in order to see this oddity that I'm about to speak about. Once you have some gold pine resin, you can head to the Duke's Archives, and most of you are probably going to know what I'm going to be talking about here. But you can head to the courtyard that always kind of interested me, because I know you can save Sieglin there. But outside that, there's really nothing in the courtyard. It's just kind of an empty area. But you can apply your gold pine resin to your weapon, any buffable weapon, and you can see that it's just the regular yellow color. But if you actually head inside the crystal cave, the cavern, and you use the gold pine resin on your weapon, you'll see that it's actually blue. And it's not actually some kind of glitch like certain older games have, where if you equip certain items... I know some Nintendo 64 games have this. Even some older MMOs do this as well. You'll notice that certain areas in your surroundings will change color as well to match your current equipment that you have on. Doesn't always happen. It's a very rare thing, but at first you'd think that it was a glitch kind of like that, but you can actually leave the area and you'll notice that the blue lightning effect is actually still in your sword. I think this might actually be intentional by the developers, which is a very cool secret in the game. At what point would you ever think to actually buff your weapon inside the Crystal Cave specifically? It's kind of like Seath has some kind of influence on that. It's kind of funny. Really interesting stuff, though. I really have no explanation for this, and I don't think anybody has actually bothered to look into the code of the game to see why this happens, if it is a glitch or not. But it's a very cool and interesting secret if it is intentional, and even if it's not, that's still pretty cool. Also, I wanted to mention, it kind of looks like you would have magic damage on it instead of the regular lightning damage, but I don't believe it actually does magic damage. It's just the same effect, just looks different. This one most likely has some lore significance to it, but if you go to Nito's domain, there's actually a third coffin right next to his other two. I have no theories for this, I don't know why it's there. It could just be there for, the atmosphere of the area, but it's actually really well hidden. Your brightness needs to be turned up as well to actually see this. So, I feel like it's there for a reason. It has meaning behind it, and it's not just, an object in the area to fill the area more. There really is not much to do in here. You can get that Leroy's armor set, the Paladin set, but that's about it. So, maybe there's some kind of deeper meaning to this third coffin that's all the way in the back of the area. The location where you find the peculiar doll has been theorized ever since the release of the game, and for me, myself, I have a few ideas of what it could possibly be, but it's just on a corpse where your starting cell is, and there's no explanation for it in the game as to why it's there. I always thought the Chosen Undead was somehow linked to the Painted World, but what Priscilla says about how you don't belong there kind of, negates that theory about it being connected to your player character. So I'm not really sure why it's there. And something I also noticed is the name. This is what stuck with me about the area, is just the name. Northern Undead Asylum. It makes it seem like there's other areas that are connected to, this one. And if you take a close look at the Painted World, it actually does look like it's another part to the asylum. It's just got cut off somehow. Just look at the surroundings, the skybox and everything. It's very interesting stuff. I have no idea why the peculiar doll is just sitting there in your starting cell on a corpse. Who knows who that is? But it is very interesting. And another thing to go along with this is that there was going to be another Asylum Demon reskin. Or maybe not reskin, but just another copy-paste spam like they usually do. There was going to be one in the Painted World, but they soon replaced that. It became Nito. This is all underneath Priscilla's boss room, I believe. It's been a while since I've looked into this stuff, but then they got rid of Nito. They put him in the catacombs, and now there's nothing down there. So there was going to be a planned Asylum Demon in there, most likely. Something else is obviously the Painted World was a place to put discarded, ideas during development, cut content, other unfinished things. So, that's just, it's really interesting. I'm assuming there's a story behind why the peculiar doll is there. I find it hard to believe, the doll would just be in this random location for no reason. A more, likely area for it would just be around the painting itself, somewhere in Anne Orlando, but that's about it for this one. Has anyone ever seen that one image that usually gets posted on V in obscure video game threads or, even some Dark Souls threads I've seen it posted in? It shows someone standing in Havel's, partial Havel's. I kind of forgot what other kind of armor he was wearing, but he's staring into the deep waters of Ash Lake, and you can see some kind of giant skull or Lovecraftian creature staring back at him. That's kind of how Ash Lake always made me feel. It feels like there's more to the area. It just feels like this unfinished place that you're not meant to be in, just hidden behind two illusion walls. And the only thing you can do here really is just Sigmire's quest, the ending to it, to get the slab. And, obviously the Dragon Covenant. You can get some dragon scales. There's a few clams here and there. And then you can defeat that terrifying flying Hydra. If you're like me, when I was younger, I was really scared of video game water and just being around, just virtual water in video games. It always feels like anything can happen. And when I say the area feels unfinished, I don't mean in the same way as Lost Izalith, where it's, blatantly obvious that it is actually unfinished. It just feels like more can happen in this area due to how many things there are in it, or how little things there are in it, rather. It's just a very strange area. And, obviously the reason why I bring this up as well is just the giant skull that's in the middle of Ash Lake. And there's obviously meaning to that. It's a unique asset. I don't know what the developers were going for with this. It kind of looks like an Asylum Demon skull, but it's way too big to actually be the skull of one of those, obviously. This thing is massive. It could be an ancient dragon, or an everlasting dragon, rather. Speaking of Sigmire before, what was he planning to do down here anyway? Like I said, there's really not much here aside from the Dragon Covenant. I guess he just likes adventure, but something even more confusing is he goes from Blighttown to Lost Izalith and then back to Blighttown just to go to Ash Lake, unless he ended up somehow down here without going to the Great Hollow, which I don't know how else he would end up here. But it is very strange why he chooses to travel down here. And somehow his daughter even knows of this location as well. It's like people just go down here to go on vacation or something, despite there being two illusion walls. Who knows how that works? If you're watching this video, you probably already know about the coffin stab animation that plays when you're trying to get to Nito's domain to join his covenant, but another player just comes and interrupts you with this. I apologize if I can't get any footage for this. It is pretty difficult to actually, get a friend in here to help me out with the footage, or my husband. He doesn't actually have the original Dark Souls. He just has the remaster, so I would have to create another character on that and run over and have all the invasions set up and everything. But what a lot of people don't know is that there's another place this animation can actually occur, and that's next to Quaylana. It's right around the Quaylana area. So, and obviously there's no coffin around there. This just plays naturally if you backstab someone around her. And I have no idea why this happens. There is someone online that I'm not going to mention the name of that has an explanation for this, I believe. These two actually managed to make me jump when I first came across them a week or so after the release of the DLC, which is kind of embarrassing to say since I just turned 15 at the time. It's kind of crazy that 2012 was that long ago since I'm 27 now, but hey, you know, I wasn't expecting to see an enemy like that respawn when walking peacefully through the world back at the starting point of the DLC. The enemy itself is really interesting. I think it was planned to be one of the demons in Lost Izalith, because it actually had code for it, or at least a model in the game before the DLC released. Just the original game files, it had a model for it, an unfinished one anyway. It has a unique tail cut weapon, which is absurdly hard to get, at least for me. And it also has a unique soul, which is very mysterious too. It's a unique looking soul. I don't think it's like any other boss soul in the game. And you can't even do anything with it. It just, I suppose they gave the boss a soul just so they could give a description for it. That's my theory anyway. Unless they planned it for it to have weapons in relation to the soul itself. Like you could actually make weapons from it or a shield or something. This is a secret that a lot of people know about, but you can actually make two of them spawn in the same area that you fought the original boss in. It just spawns two more of them after the defeat of a DLC boss. So Artorias or Calamite, you obviously can't fight Manus. You have to get past Artorias to fight Manus. At least I think so. Maybe you can fight him early with glitches or something. I'm not sure. But if you want to fight Calamite early, that's without speaking to Go. That's going to be quite the challenge. It's possible, and you even get unique dialogue from Go if you do that. But you need a great bow or some spells or something. I never done that before, so I always just fought him normally. But aside from that, it's very strange that two of them spawn in here. If they wanted to give the player another chance to get the tail, you'd think that they would just put, you know, just another singular enemy there that's just a copy of the boss version. But instead they just put two there, which is insane. And they don't drop their soul again either. So that unique soul that you get is only the first time you fight them. So if you're a completionist, you might want to keep that unique boss soul. Who knows, maybe it's having some kind of hidden effect that nobody has seen before. This is my favorite and even more mysterious than Vagrants in my opinion. It's the chain prisoner that can be found right at the end of the DLC just before you go to fight Manus. He's not in the cell area though, he's not in the prison area, he's above it, so he somehow escaped the cell, went up the elevator, and he has his own unique boss looking room. It looks like a room for a boss, maybe he was originally meant to be one. It is very strange that they actually just put a single enemy in here that really just takes 3 hits to go down depending on your weapon, and you can destroy the statues in the room as well, which is showing off some kind of, you know, well, not really mechanics, but it had so much more detail to the fight, and it's all for just one enemy that is such a weak enemy as well. Like, I feel like there's something important that everyone is missing here. I don't know where I've read this from, but someone was saying it might be like True King Alant from Demon Souls, where this is the real Artorias somehow, with all the time shenanigans going on and everything in the DLC. I don't know, but it is a very mysterious enemy, and there's something that really gets to people. If you're Grave Lorded and you actually go down into the cell area, at least I think this is down in the cell area, there's actually Red Phantom versions of this enemy, so that might take away from the importance of the enemy if that's supposed to be a singular character that's chained up like that, and it's someone we don't know the identity of. Having Red Phantoms running around kind of takes away from that, but that could just be a gameplay reason to just have more there. But yeah, I do feel like this is actually a character that we're supposed to know. We're supposed to put pieces together somehow, but I'm not really too certain. But yeah, you just have this small, weak enemy that drops chain armor for some reason, and leather gloves. And obviously it's dropping chainmail because I guess it's just wrapped in chains. I don't know if that's what the prisoner was actually wearing before he got chained up like that. Now, the feet on the enemy do look similar to the... I actually forgot the name of the enemies. It's the giant golems that walk around in the fields up above ground around the DLC area where Darkroot Garden is in the future. Someone pointed that out as well. I don't know where I read that from, but I don't think it's exact. I mean, clearly that thing is either... It could be a human warped by humanity and whatnot, but aside from that, I don't know if that's a regular person underneath all those chains, because he can swing around that ball pretty good, so I don't know. Yeah, there's really there's no information on this enemy as well. I think he's actually in concept art for the original Dark Souls before the DLC actually released. I could be wrong on that as well. That's a third piece of information I actually read online. He's actually, and I saw that for myself too. He's definitely in concept art, and I assume that's from artwork from the original game. So he was probably planned to be in the original game somewhere. So maybe he's not connected to the DLC itself or any of the characters in the DLC. Who knows? Then again, the DLC was probably just going to be part of the base game anyway. So I'm not really too certain on that. I don't know. Really interesting stuff, though. This is, like I said, it's one of my favorite things in the game, is just the mystery of this character, whoever it's supposed to be, if anyone. I'm sure we all felt the same way opening up that one chest right after Gwendolyn, where it's right next to Gwen's tomb to the left, and it is just completely empty with nothing in it. And the only other chest like that in the game is the one behind Frampt, and that's used if you lose any key items on you, like the orange charred ring, for example. This chest is just completely empty. There is no way for anything to spawn in it. People have looked through the code of the game. There's nothing associated with it either, just no unused content that we know of. People like to speculate that it's just there for lore reasons, but I do feel like there was supposed to be something inside this chest. I'm just not sure what. I've heard a lot of rumors back in the day about it, kind of like those playground rumors that you'd hear as a kid about older games when the internet thankfully wasn't as accessible to everybody as it is now. Really miss those times, by the way. But one of these rumors I heard was that for some reason, under certain circumstances, you would find the maiden set inside the chest. I don't know why someone would make this up. I have no idea why someone would actually say that or, speculate about that, because there is just one simple way to, well, I say simple, but it is rather easy to get in the game if you know what you're doing anyway. I guess the chest is kind of close to the Duke's Archives. Not really. I mean, I don't even consider the Duke's Archives to be part of Anor Londo. I guess it kind of is. But yeah, I don't know why someone would make that up. But that was one of the theories I heard, that it actually has the maiden set in it. Again, I don't know what the logic is behind that, but it's just one of the things I heard. And then there was that one Pop Fiction video. Does anyone else remember watching that as a kid? Again, I'm 27, I'm pretty young, but does anyone else remember watching this Pop Fiction show? It was on Game Trailers, I believe, where they, they just had a whole bunch of videos about video game mysteries, rumors. Not necessarily trivia, just video game myths, basically. And one of their episodes was on the pendant, and this one chest had something to do with their episode, because they've also heard rumors online that you have to somehow jump on top of the chest and then drop the pendant in, and for some reason, it doesn't work on the Prepare to Die edition of the game, so I guess you just do that on consoles without the DLC, which is hilarious. I have no idea if they made that up or they just read that online somewhere, but it is really funny. Yeah, by the way, with those kind of videos, that's the same kind of atmosphere that I'm going for with this one, but I'm probably failing miserably. I don't really have that kind of announcer voice, but I'll try my best to try to fit the atmosphere that Pop Fiction had, because I really did love that show when I was younger. I really did love that show. I think it was around, 2012, 2013? It was like right after the DLC released in 2012 or something. I'm not sure. But, yeah. Oh, yeah, at the end of that episode, by the way, for some reason, this always stuck with me ever since that episode released. They have a clip right at the end of the video. I don't want to show anybody else's footage, but you can go watch it for yourself. They show themselves just in the regular pyromancer gear, walking back to where the two sanctuary guardians are, where they would spawn in at, and it shows them in the sanctuary area just walking back to where the boss room is, and they just put a giant question mark on the screen. I have no idea why they did that. But, you know, if you're looking for some kind of reaction out of people, you definitely got it. You definitely got that. But aside from that, that's about it for the empty chest. I don't have any theories about it. Maybe it was another brass armor set. I'm not sure. So, who remembers these enemies while you were trying to go get the wolf ring? These ones are very obscure. They only appear in this one area, and they even have their own special semi-cutscene that plays. This little animation where they jump out of this gigantic pool of water that's kind of creepy, actually, if you look down at it. It's not really a lake, it's just this giant pool of water that's surrounded by nothing. And they just jump out of it and, you know, splash water everywhere. So these have a special attack that not many people know about. You actually have to, for some reason, I'm going to go ahead and assume that the area was redesigned at some point. Maybe they were meant to appear somewhere else, I'm not sure. But you have to lead them all the way up to where the Moonlight Butterfly is, or around that area anyway. You have to lead them all the way upstairs, and they will have this special attack animation where they just spit out this goo ball at you, which I think another enemy in the game actually does that. The Massive Souls or something it's called, the Massive Souls. Yeah, it's just this, it doesn't do anything either. It doesn't poison you. It just does a very small amount of damage. So a lot of work actually went into these enemies, and they're actually really well designed too. Like, if you look very closely at them, they're very detailed. Aside from that, they just use their tongue to attack. And that's really about it for this one. I don't know what else I can possibly say. They drop green blossoms. I'm not sure if they can drop anything else. I'm just not really remembering right now. A strange looking fenced off door in the Gaping Dragon's boss room, and there's also a similar one in the Stray Demon's room as well. There's nothing to say about this one, I just thought it was worth noting for some reason. You know that strange graveyard in the Painted World that doesn't really serve a purpose outside of the King Jeremiah invasion, and I believe a single pyromancy you can find there as well by the cliffside. I don't remember which pyromancy it was. I should have probably looked that up beforehand, but oh well. Yeah, speaking of King Jeremiah, by the way, it's very odd that his armor set is found right behind Priscilla. I don't know why that is. You'd think it would just be found in the same graveyard. But aside from that, he also drops his Notch Whip, of course. And that's really all there is to do in the graveyard. There's actually nothing else to do there, but I get this same feeling that I got in Ash Lake, where it feels like if you stand here long enough, something's going to happen. I know that there was another invasion that was cut from the game that was supposed to take place around the same area, but I don't think it was necessarily in the graveyard. It was with Shiva and his cut questline and everything. Yeah, in this graveyard, there's actually unique ambient noise, I guess, a unique ambient track that plays in the background, and it only plays in this graveyard. It does not play anywhere else in the game, and to make it even stranger, it only plays in a very specific spot in the graveyard. Like, you have to be standing on an oddly specific tile for it to actually play. I have no idea if this is a glitch or it's intentional or not, but it definitely does make the area so much more creepy and eerie. I think there was a glitch in Bloodborne, actually, where a noise of someone laughing in the... I actually don't remember what it is. It's like a copy of The Hunter's Dream. Haven't played Bloodborne in a while either. But, yeah, there's just such an odd thing here. It definitely feels like if you stand here and sit still long enough, something would definitely happen. It's very eerie. You know, when they put a unique asset in a game like that, even if it's just ambient noise, especially if it only plays on like a single tile, that is very, very strange. That's really all I have to say about it, though. There's not really much else to talk about. It's just very odd. If you have your own theories, myths, or rumors that you want to talk about, feel free to leave a comment and I will read it, and maybe I'll include it in the next video as well for Dark Souls 2. I can put some Dark Souls 1 clips in there, or rumors in there as well. And thank you for watching. This has been me, Time Liar G, and God Jesus Christ bless you, and your week, your day, your life. Farewell.